Jake never minded working late. In fact, he preferred it. Nighttime meant fewer traffic jams, fewer impatient customers glaring from their porches, and more peace. It was just him, the hum of his car, and the steady buzz of the delivery app sending him from point A to point B. But late-night orders always came with a little edge of unease. Strange neighborhoods, lonely back roads, houses that looked abandoned until someone opened the door. That Friday night, Jake got one of those orders. It popped onto his phone at 11:47 p.m. sharp. A big order from Golden Dragon, the Chinese place downtown, 4 entrees, 2 sides, and drinks. More than enough food for a family, paid in advance. The note said, "Hand it to me." The customer's name was M. Wright. The address was unfamiliar, a pin near the edge of town, where the neighborhoods turned rural and the streetlights thinned out. Jake shrugged, picked up the food, and started the drive. The further he went, the quieter it got. Streetlights gave way to long stretches of darkness. Houses became fewer, set farther back behind trees and sagging fences. His GPS guided him along winding roads until finally it announced, "You have arrived." Jake slowed, squinting through his windshield. The house sat far back from the road, hidden behind a curtain of overgrown bushes. No cars in the driveway, no lights on in the windows. Completely dark. Jake checked the app again. Same address, same instructions. "Hand it to me." He pulled into the cracked driveway, headlights sweeping across the yard. The grass was tall, unkempt. The porch board sagged. The entire place looked abandoned. "Maybe they forgot to leave a light on," Jake muttered, forcing a laugh. He grabbed the insulated bag, stepped out, and walked up the path. Each step crunched on gravel, the sound unnaturally loud in the still night. The front door was slightly ajar. Jake stopped cold. Every instinct screamed at him to leave the bag on the porch and walk away. Customers sometimes forgot to unlock the door, sure, but leaving it open in the middle of the night, that wasn't right. "Hello?" Jake called, staying at the threshold. "Delivery for Wright?" No answer. The night pressed in heavier. He glanced back at his car. The only light came from its headlights, casting long, shaky shadows across the yard. He cleared his throat. I'll just leave this here." As he bent to set the bag down, a voice drifted from inside the house. "Bring it in." Jake froze. The voice was low, flat, and close. It didn't sound like it came from another room, more like it was hovering just inside the doorway. His chest tightened. I'll leave it here," he said quickly. Silence, then a whisper from deeper inside. "Bring it in." His phone buzzed in his pocket, nearly making him jump. A notification from the app. "Customer is waiting. Please complete delivery." Jake cursed under his breath. He didn't want a bad rating. Against his better judgment, he stepped inside. The air was colder, stale. It smelled faintly of damp wood and something metallic like rust. His phone's flashlight beam cut across peeling wallpaper, stained carpet, and bare walls. The house looked empty. No furniture, no pictures, nothing but a single chair against the far wall. And yet the voice had come from here. Jake swallowed hard. Where are you?" No response. He set the bag on a dusty side table and turned toward the door. That's when he noticed the receipt. It wasn't the one stapled to the bag. This was new. Fresh ink, lying on the table where he hadn't put it. 3 words were scrawled across it in shaky handwriting. "Don't leave yet." Jake's blood ran cold. He snatched his phone, backing toward the door. Something moved in the hallway. A long, thin shadow stretched across the wall, but there was nothing to cast it. His flashlight flickered. Then the voice came again. Not from the hallway this time, From the kitchen, from upstairs, from right behind him. "Bring it in." Jake bolted. He shoved the door open, sprinted down the path, and dove into his car. He jammed the keys, floored it, gravel spraying as he tore down the road. Only when he was several miles away did he slow, chest heaving. His phone buzzed again. Delivery completed. Tip received. Jake's heart sank. He hadn't hit delivered. He hadn't taken the photo proof. He pulled over under a streetlight, hands shaking, and checked the app. The name on the order was no longer Emma Wright. It now read, "See you again." The screen flickered. For a second, the order history glitched, showing a grainy black and white image. Jake's breath caught. It was him, standing at the threshold of the house holding the bag. His own reflection, caught from an angle he hadn't taken. He slammed the phone face down, heart hammering. The next morning, when he checked again, the order was gone. No record of it, no payment. But the insulated bag was back in his car. Empty. And on the bottom, in faint smeared ink, were the same 3 words. "Don't leave yet." Tyler had been doing late-night deliveries for almost a year. It wasn't glamorous, but it fit his schedule. Nights meant less traffic, better tips, and a kind of quiet freedom he didn't get during the day. But nights also meant the strange ones. He'd had customers answer the door half-dressed, customers too drunk to remember placing an order, and even one guy who tried to pay him in lottery tickets. He thought he'd seen it all. Until the house on Maple Drive. The order came in at 12:41 a.m., a large pizza, garlic bread, and a bottle of soda, paid in full, with a $10 tip already added. The instructions said only, "Hand it to me at the door." Easy enough. The neighborhood was one of those older parts of town, lined with tall oak trees that leaned over the cracked sidewalks. The houses were close together, each with narrow porches and peeling paint, the kind of places that had seen better decades. When Tyler pulled up, everything seemed ordinary at first. The yard was trimmed, the walkway swept clean. No car in the driveway, but that wasn't unusual this late. Then he noticed the upstairs window. The curtains were half drawn, and behind the thin fabric stood a figure, perfectly still, perfectly straight. Tyler squinted. The faint glow of a lamp lit just enough to make out the shape of a person. Arms at their sides, head tilted slightly forward, watching. A chill slid down his spine. Customers looked out windows all the time, but this was different. This one wasn't moving. They weren't shifting their weight, waving, or even blinking. They were just staring. Tyler forced himself to shrug it off. He grabbed the insulated bag, walked up the path, and knocked on the door. The sound echoed strangely in the silence of the street. No dogs barking, no TV murmurs from inside. Just the hollow knock and the whisper of wind through the trees. No answer. He knocked again, louder. "Hey, delivery, got your order." Still nothing. But when he glanced up at the window again, the figure was still there, still staring. Tyler's mouth went dry. "Okay," he muttered under his breath. He pulled out his phone and checked the app. Address matched. Order active. "Hand it to me at the door." He sighed, leaned forward, and knocked a 3rd time. That's when his phone buzzed. A notification from the app. "Please don't leave it, I'm waiting." Tyler froze, heart pounding. Slowly, he lifted his eyes back toward the window. The figure was gone. The curtain swayed faintly, like someone had just stepped away. His pulse quickened. He looked down at the doorknob, half expecting it to turn. But it didn't. The door stayed shut, silent. "All right, buddy," he said under his breath. "This is getting weird." He bent down to set the pizza bag on the porch. Click. The porch light snapped on. Tyler flinched, nearly dropping the bag. His eyes darted around the yard. The switch had to be inside. Someone had turned it on. Slowly, the front door creaked open. Just an inch. Darkness inside. No voices, no footsteps, just the yawning black of the hallway. That was enough. Tyler backed down the steps, clutching the bag to his chest. He jogged to his car, tossed the food onto the passenger seat, and slammed the door. His breath came fast, shallow, the hairs on his arms standing straight. His phone buzzed again. Another notification. Thanks for coming. Next time, bring it upstairs. Tyler's head snapped up. The upstairs curtains were fully closed now. But for just a second, he thought he saw the faint outline of someone standing there, pressing against the fabric. He tore out of the neighborhood, tires screeching against the cracked asphalt. Hours later, back home, he tried to laugh it off. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe the guy just wanted to mess with him. But the more he thought about it, the more one detail gnawed at him. He hadn't marked the delivery complete. He hadn't left the bag. He hadn't taken the picture proof for the app. And yet his phone still buzzed at 2:03 a.m. Delivery completed. Tip received. Tyler's stomach dropped. He opened the order history. The name had changed. No longer Alex M. Now it read, "Looked right at you." And the profile picture, where it had been a blank gray icon earlier, was now filled in. It was blurry, grainy, but there was no mistaking it. It was Tyler, standing in the driveway, holding the pizza bag, staring up at the window. A photo he had never taken. Marcus had been driving nights for over a year. It wasn't a dream job, but it kept the bills paid, and he didn't mind the quiet. Late night shifts suited him. The traffic was light, the streets were still, and the hum of his car's engine mixed with faint music on the radio felt almost meditative. But there was always that one nagging thought in the back of his head. He wasn't just driving around. He was pulling up to strangers' homes in the middle of the night. Houses where everyone else was asleep, curtains drawn, lights off. He never really knew who was on the other side of the door. Most nights he ignored that thought. Most nights nothing happened, until the duplicate order. It was 12:12 a.m. when the notification came through. A cheeseburger meal, fries, soda, and an apple pie. Paid in advance, decent tip. Instructions, leave at door. Marcus sighed, accepted, and picked it up from the drive-thru. He glanced at the receipt as he drove. Address was Willow Lane, a part of town he rarely visited. The kind of neighborhood where houses sagged and lawns grew wild. When he arrived, the house looked ordinary enough. Single-story chipped paint, porch sagging slightly. The mailbox leaned sideways, numbers almost worn off. But there was one thing that stuck out. The porch light was off, yet a faint glow flickered inside the living room. A TV, muted and shifting light behind the curtains. Marcus carried the bag up the creaky steps. The boards groaned under his weight. He set the food neatly on the porch, snapped the proof photo, and marked the order complete. Easy. He was halfway down the path when headlights swept over him. Another car pulled into the driveway. Marcus squinted, hand hovering over his phone. The car door opened, and another delivery driver stepped out, insulated bag in hand, same restaurant logo. They locked eyes, equally startled. "You delivering here?" the guy asked. Marcus nodded slowly. "Yeah, just dropped it off." The guy frowned. "Weird. I've got the same order. Cheeseburger, fries, soda, pie." Marcus's stomach tightened. He glanced at the slip stapled to his own bag. Identical. They stood in awkward silence for a moment. Two strangers holding the same food at the same house, both paid by different apps. "Customer must have double ordered," the other guy muttered, though he didn't sound convinced. Marcus forced a laugh. "Yeah, probably." The other driver shrugged, set his bag next to Marcus's, snapped a photo and left. Marcus got in his car and drove off, but his hands were tighter on the wheel than usual. 15 minutes later, his phone buzzed. Another order. Same food, same restaurant, same address. Marcus frowned. Maybe the other driver's bag got stolen. He reluctantly accepted and drove back. When he arrived, his chest tightened. The porch was empty. Both bags were gone. But the TV was still flickering inside, static glow pulsing faintly against the curtains. Marcus swallowed hard. He set the new bag down, snapped another photo, and hurried back to his car. As he slid into the driver's seat, he glanced back at the porch. The food was already gone. At 1:03 a.m., the app buzzed again. Same order, same house. This time, Marcus declined. Seconds later, his phone rang, an unknown number. Against his better judgment, he answered. A flat, toneless voice rasped through the speaker. "Why didn't you bring it inside?" Marcus's stomach dropped. "Who is this?" The line crackled, then silence. The call ended. His pulse hammered as he pulled over under a streetlight. He opened the order history. Every completed delivery from the night was gone. No record of payments, no proof photos. Just one active order. Timestamp 1:04 a.m. Customer, your address. Marcus blinked. No, not his delivery address. His home address. Instructions. Hand it to me. His throat went dry. Slowly, he lowered the phone and looked up into the rearview mirror. At first, he thought it was just a trick of the light. A blur. But no, there was a figure in the back seat. Sitting perfectly still, head bowed slightly, hands folded neatly in their lap. Their face was pale, blurred, features indistinguishable. Marcus's heart leapt into his throat. He spun around, but the seat was empty. The car was silent. Only his ragged breathing filled the space. When he finally got home near dawn, he tried to convince himself it had been exhaustion. A glitch. A prank. Something explainable. But his phone buzzed one last time. Delivery completed, tip received. Marcus's hand shook as he opened the app. The order was listed as fulfilled. Customer name, see you again. And the profile picture was no longer blank. It was his house. A blurry, grainy photo of his own front porch. Taken from the driveway. Eli had been a food delivery driver for almost 2 years. It wasn't his dream job, but it kept him afloat, and he liked the freedom of driving alone at night. The glow of his phone screen, the hum of his engine, and the quiet streets gave him a strange sense of peace. But there was one thing he hated: leave at the door orders. Most drivers liked them. Quick, no waiting, no small talk. But Eli never shook the feeling that it was unnatural. Walking up to a stranger's house at midnight, crouching low, back turned, fumbling for a photo. He always felt watched, like someone on the other side of the door was waiting, eyes pressed against the peephole, holding their breath. One night, his instincts proved right. The order came in at 11:58 p.m. A family-sized chicken meal, 3 boxes of fried chicken, sides, and biscuits. Paid in full, good tip. Delivery instructions were short. Leave at the door, don't knock. Eli frowned. No knock? No bell? Most customers at least wanted some noise to alert them. He told himself not to overthink it. People were weird. He picked up the food and drove out of town. The streets thinned into long stretches of cracked asphalt, lined with bare trees clawing at the sky. Houses appeared farther apart, yards wild with weeds. The kind of road where headlights revealed more darkness than comfort. Finally, his GPS chimed, arrived. Eli slowed to a crawl, squinting at the address numbers nailed crookedly to a leaning mailbox. The house sat back from the road. 1 story, siding rotted gray, porch sagging with age. No lights on, no cars in the drive, just silent, heavy dark pressing around it. His gut twisted, but the address matched. He pulled into the cracked driveway, killed his engine, and stared at the house for a long moment. His headlights cast the porch into a harsh glow, highlighting peeling paint and warped boards. The front door was a faded, flaking red with a tarnished brass handle. Eli grabbed the insulated bag and forced himself up the path. The air was colder here, heavy with damp earth and something sour like spoiled wood. At the top of the steps, he crouched to set the bag down. His phone buzzed with the delivery screen, waiting for the proof photo. He bent lower, aimed, and snapped. Click. As the shutter sound echoed in the silence, something moved. From the sliver-thin gap of the front door, a pale hand slid out. Eli's breath hitched. The hand was too long, fingers bony and stretched unnaturally. The nails were yellowed, cracked. The skin looked waxy, almost translucent. In one sudden motion, it snatched the bag and yanked it inside. The door didn't swing, it didn't open wide, it barely creaked. The hand had simply reached out, taken the food, and vanished. The gap closed with a soft click. Silence returned. Eli stumbled back a step, heart slamming in his chest. His phone trembled in his hand. The bag was gone. The proof photo still glowed on his screen. But in the image, the bag wasn't there. Instead, the shot showed the porch, empty. Eli's stomach turned. He backed down the steps, nearly tripping, eyes locked on the door. No movement, no sound, just a stillness that felt alive. His phone buzzed again. A notification. Thanks for the delivery. Please come back soon. The words pulsed on his screen, as if mocking him. Eli bolted for his car, slammed the door, and floored it out of the driveway. Gravel sprayed, his headlights bouncing wildly as he sped back toward town. By the time he reached a gas station under harsh fluorescent lights, his hands still shook. Just some creep with a prank, he muttered to himself. They knew the order. They waited. That's it. He opened his phone, desperate to prove it was nothing. But when he checked his gallery, the proof photo was gone. In its place was a new one. Same angle, same porch. But this time, the front door was wide open. And something stood in the frame. A figure tall, limbs too long, arms dangling low, fingers grazing the boards. Its head was tilted sharply, staring directly into the camera. Eli's stomach dropped. His thumb hovered over the screen, but the image wouldn't close. It pulsed faintly, like it was breathing. Then another notification appeared. Next time, come inside. The phone vibrated so hard he nearly dropped it. He shut the app, deleted it entirely, swore he'd never use it again. But later that night, lying in bed with his phone face down on the nightstand, the vibration started again. He turned it over with trembling hands. A new notification glowed against the dark. Leave it at the door. Darius liked nights. Most drivers hated them. The long stretches of empty streets, the sketchy neighborhoods, the unpredictable customers. But Darius thrived in them. He liked the hum of his engine echoing through silent streets, the way streetlights carved pools of orange light into the dark. He liked feeling like the city belonged to him alone, a ghost passing through while everyone else slept. But one night he realized he wasn't the only ghost out there. It began just after 1 a.m. He was ready to wrap up, maybe do one last order before calling it quits. Then his phone buzzed. A single meal from a burger joint, combo with fries, drink, extra ketchup. Paid in advance, tip already included. Customer name, Clara. Delivery instructions. Hand it to me. The address was across town, near the river. A part of the city Darius usually avoided after midnight. Still, the payout looked decent. He accepted. The drive took him down long stretches of half-abandoned streets, old warehouses, empty lots, houses with peeling paint and sagging porches. By the time he found the right one, the neighborhood was so quiet, it felt like the whole block had been emptied. The house itself wasn't unusual, a one-story with chipped siding and a porch light glowing faintly. Every window was dark, except for that soft yellow glow above the door. Darius parked, grabbed the bag, and walked up the path. He knocked gently, shifting the food in his hands. The door creaked open an inch. A pale hand reached out. Thin fingers, neatly manicured nails. The hand took the bag without a word. The door shut softly, almost politely. "No, thanks," no smile. Darius stood there for a moment, uneasy before heading back to his car. The first thing he noticed when he got in was the smell. Not food. Perfume. Sweet, floral, faintly powdery. The kind of scent that lingered in an old jewelry box. He frowned, glanced around. Nothing out of place. He shook it off, started the engine, and pulled away. But halfway down the block, he glanced at the rearview mirror and froze. Someone was sitting in the back seat. For a second, he thought it was just a shadow. But then the figure shifted. A woman. Pale face, long dark hair, sitting perfectly straight, staring past him at the windshield. Darius's chest clenched. He jerked the wheel, swerving hard, then whipped around. The seat was empty. Nothing. His breathing came fast, shallow. He pulled over under a streetlight, grabbed his phone flashlight, and shone it over the back seats. Empty. He laughed shakily. "You're losing it, man." Too many late shifts, but the smell of perfume was stronger now. The rest of the night blurred. Darius finished 2 more orders, but his hand shook each time he glanced in the mirror. Once, he could have sworn he saw her again. Not sitting, but leaning forward, as though whispering over his shoulder. But when he turned, nothing was there. By the time he finally went offline, his nerves were raw. He parked outside his apartment and sat in the stillness, trying to gather himself. That's when his phone buzzed. A new order. But he hadn't turned the app back on. Timestamp 1:47 a.m. Customer Clara. Address your location. Instructions. I'm still in the back seat. Darius's mouth went dry. His hands trembled as he slowly lifted his eyes to the mirror. She was there. Closer this time, sitting directly behind him, her pale face almost touching the glass. Her eyes were wide, dark hollows, her lips stretched in a faint, unnatural smile. He spun around, heart pounding. The seat was empty. When he turned back to the mirror, she was gone. Darius sat frozen for what felt like hours before he forced himself upstairs to his apartment. He locked the door, drew the curtains, and dropped onto the couch with every light on. But around 3 a.m. his phone lit up. He hadn't touched it. A new message from the app. Not an order, not a notification, just a single line. "Thanks for the ride, see you tomorrow." He stared, stomach twisting, fingers numb. The screen flickered once, twice. For a split second, the app showed a new profile picture under the name Clara. It was a photo of his car, taken from the back seat. If you made it this far, thank you for spending your night with us. If these stories gave you chills, there's plenty more waiting. Don't forget to subscribe to Night Fear Stories for new terrifying tales every single night. Sleep well, if you can.